There is a number in the history of human athletic achievement that has never existed before tonight. The atmosphere inside Prague's arena is not merely cold, it is suffocating. A dense, crackling electricity hangs over every seat, the kind of charged stillness that only materializes when history is coiled in the wings, moments from making its entrance. Beyond these walls, the ancient Czech capital, draped in Gothic spires and cobblestone shadows under the violet haze of a late March evening, feels like a world away. Inside this frozen Colosseum, bathed in the merciless white blaze of arena lighting, time itself has ground to a halt. We stand at the absolute razor's edge of the ISU World Figure Skating Championships, the shattering culmination of a season defined equally by heartbreak, brilliance, and raw human will. This is the men's free skate, and what has unfolded across the last 3 hours has been nothing short of a psychological and physical war of attrition, conducted on a sheet of ice just millimeters thick. To fully grasp the mountain the final competitor must now summit, we must first reckon with the wreckage and the magnificence of everything that preceded him. The leaderboard, as it currently stands, is a monument to the terrifying caliber of today's men's field. Occupying 5th place is France's Adam Saya-Himfa. Earlier this evening, he converted this rink into a living canvas of contemporary expression. Adam does not simply perform to music, he anatomizes it. His routine was so intricate, so boldly avant-garde in its choreography, that it left both the judging panel and the audience struggling to breathe. His score of 271.56 was a monumental achievement, a seamless fusion of thunderous quadruple jumps and a choreographic sequence incorporating acrobatics rarely witnessed in competitive skating. Yet on this particular night, even that spectacular exhibition was consumed by the sport's relentlessly escalating technical arms race. Ahead of him stands Canadian prodigy Steven Gogolev. For years, the skating world observed Gogolev wrestle with injuries, the turbulence of physical growth, and the suffocating burden of premature expectations. Tonight, however, he delivered the performance of his redemption. Fluid, powerful, and utterly relentless, he attacked the ice with a quiet, controlled ferocity, landing jump after jump with stoic, surgical precision, ultimately earning a 281.04. It was a declaration that Canada's prodigal son had finally, irrevocably arrived. Then, the final flight ignited, and the ice was set ablaze. Japan's Shun Sato, a skater whose jumping mechanics are dissected by biomechanics researchers across the globe, unleashed an absolute masterclass of explosive force. When Sato departs the ice, the crack of his blades against the frozen surface reverberates like a gunshot all the way up to the arena's upper tiers. He tore through a program saturated with quadruple jumps, his rotational axis impossibly tight, his spin blindingly rapid, ultimately driving the scoreboard to a staggering 288.54. The crowd genuinely believed they had witnessed the summit of the evening. They were profoundly mistaken, because then came Yuma Kageyama. The Japanese silver medalist from Beijing has spent 4 meticulous years sculpting a skating style that borders on the miraculous. Kageyama does not skate on the ice, he hovers above it. His knee action is so deep, so impossibly cushioned, that his landings produce absolutely no sound. Tonight, he performed with the soul of a poet and the ruthless precision of an assassin. Every transition, every edge, every rotation was a masterstroke. When he touched down on his final combination jump, a collective gasp swept the entire O2 arena, and the judges rewarded his near perfection with a staggering 306.57. For virtually any other competitor in the sport's history, that number is a death sentence, an insurmountable wall, a score that compels the remaining field to overreach, push too desperately, and shatter under the psychological weight of knowing that flawlessness is merely the starting point. That is the figure currently blinking on the enormous monitor suspended above center ice. That is the reality confronting the solitary man waiting in the tunnel. But the man dwelling in those shadows is not just any other skater. He is a phenomenon. He is a paradigm shift in human physiology. He is Ilia Malinin. The arena announcer's voice slices through the crowd's low murmur. The pronunciation of his name is instantly swallowed by a deafening, visceral roar from 15,000 throats, a wall of sound that strikes the ice like a physical shockwave. Malinin emerges from behind the boards. He wears a costume of deep midnight blue, accented with subtle, fracture-patterned crystalline detailing that catches the stadium lights and makes him appear as though he was forged under immense geological pressure. He crouches, removes the hard plastic blade guards, and passes them to his coach, the legendary Rafael Arutunin, a man who has sculpted generations of champions. The coach simply nods. There are no frantic last-second instructions. At this altitude of competition, the labor is already complete. What happens next belongs entirely to the 2-1-year-old from Fairfax, Virginia. Malinin pushes off the boards. A single, authoritative stroke of his left foot sends him gliding with effortless sovereignty toward the center of the rink. Let us pause to appreciate exactly who we are watching. Ilia Malinin is the son of two former Olympic figure skaters, Tatiana Molina and Roman Skorniakov. He was born into this discipline. The ice is his mother tongue. For years, he was known by the self-appointed moniker that followed him everywhere, the Quad God, a bold, confident title earned when he accomplished what the world had collectively deemed scientifically impossible, successfully landing the quadruple axel in competition. But a crown like that carries immense weight. For a period, it threatened to define him exclusively as an acrobat, a jumper who treated the intervals between his spectacular leaps as mere waiting rooms. The journey from 2022 to this precise instant has been about systematically dismantling that singular label. He has invested countless grueling hours into edgework, into posture, into the nuanced emotional storytelling that separates a gifted jumper from a transcendent artist. Tonight, he is not here to demonstrate that he can jump. He is here to prove he is an unassailable, complete master of this sport in its entirety. He reaches center ice and goes still. He assumes his opening pose. The crowd moments ago, chaotic and thunderous, descends into a terrifying, pin-drop silence. You can hear the hum of the ventilation system. You can hear the rapid-fire shutter clicks of the photographers stationed behind the boards. Malinin lowers his head. He draws one deep, jagged breath. His chest rises, and as it falls, the music begins. It is a soaring, cinematic orchestration, dense with strings and rolling timpani music, designed to conjure a storm. And Malinin is the lightning. He opens with a slow, deliberate sequence of steps. He is not rushing. The Ilia of earlier years might have sprinted toward his first jumping pass, propelled by adrenaline and nerves. This Ilia is measured. He holds a deep outside edge, his body tilted into the curve at an angle that appears to defy gravity, a demonstration of the maturity and blade mastery he has spent years cultivating. But the tranquility is a disguise. He is building momentum, computing his trajectory, positioning himself with the cold patience of a marksman. He carves across the ice toward the corner of the rink. The crowd already knows exactly what is approaching. It is the jump that altered the trajectory of this sport. He pivots forward. He glides on the outside edge of his left skate. The approach is agonizingly deliberate. His free leg swings violently through and he launches the quadruple axel. It demands that he project his body high enough into the atmosphere to complete 4.5 full revolutions before gravity reclaims him. It all transpires in under 0.7 seconds. In the air, he is a pure blur, his arms drawn so tightly across his chest, he resembles a drill bit cutting through the atmosphere. 1, 2, 3, 4.5. His arms release, his right blade meets the ice. He absorbs the crushing, bone-compressing force of the landing through a deep knee bend, flowing outward onto a pristine running edge. The arena detonates. It is the sound of pure, visceral disbelief, even from those who have witnessed him accomplish this before. But Malinin's expression is completely impassive. No smile, no acknowledgement of the crowd. The jump was merely the opening sentence of a very long novel. Without a moment's respite, the tempo accelerates and Malinin accelerates with it, threading through a complex transition of brackets and counters to disguise the setup for his next element. He reaches back with his toe pick and vaults into a quadruple lutz. The height is staggering. He clears the imaginary bar with room to spare, rotates 4 times, and lands cleanly, immediately driving his other toe pick into the ice to launch a triple toe loop. A quad-triple combination executed with a casual, almost arrogant authority. The technical scoring display in the corner of the stadium screens is already spinning like a slot machine, rapidly tallying the base values and enormous grades of execution he is accumulating in real time. He flows out of the combination and directly into a choreographic sequence, and this is where the labor of the last 4 years announces itself unmistakably. He throws himself into a sweeping spread eagle, his skates turned completely outward, carving a grand, arching corridor across the full width of the ice. He transitions into an Ina Bauer, his back arched deeply, his head surrendered to the swelling violins cascading through the arena. He is commanding the judges to examine his lines, his extension, his emotional connection to the music. He is telling Yuma Kageyama in no uncertain terms that whatever artistry was laid before him, he is fully equipped to answer it. The first half concludes with a breathtaking flying camel spin. He leaps airborne, parallel to the ice, landing perfectly centered as the blade etches a harsh, rhythmic pattern into the surface, a metronome measuring the seconds of his rapidly depleting physical reserves. This spin is his only available window for recovery. While rotating, he is desperately dragging oxygen into his scorched lungs. A 4-minute free skate is the physiological equivalent of running a 4-minute mile while simultaneously performing elite gymnastics. The lactic acid is already pooling in his thighs. His peripheral vision is likely closing in. But as he pulls out of the spin, the music pivots into its dark, thunderous third act. We are now in the program's second half, and from this point forward, every jumping element earns a 10% bonus on base value. It is a high-risk, high-reward architecture that only the bravest or most audacious competitors attempt. Malinin is staking his entire world championship on his endurance. He gathers speed. The fatigue is invisible to the untrained eye, but the labored rise and fall of his shoulders betray him. He sets for the quadruple salchow, a jump demanding delicate edge precision and perfect timing, two qualities that erode rapidly in an exhausted body. He strokes, pivots, and springs. The air position wavers microscopically, almost imperceptibly tilted, and a collective gasp catches in the throats of the audience. But Malinin's core strength is supernatural. He wrenches the axis straight mid-flight, battling physics with sheer willpower, and lands cleanly. A wave of relieved thunder rolls across the stands. 3 jumping passes remain. The music has become a pounding, merciless march. He drives his blades into the ice, summoning power from the very marrow of his exhaustion. He attacks a quadruple toe loop, landing on a deep edge and immediately stepping through an Euler to launch a triple salchow, a combination that is physically devastating, a brutal audit of fast-twitch muscle fiber at the precise moment of its greatest depletion. He lands the salchow, arms flying wide, chest heaving. He is nearly there. The finish line is visible. The final jump of the program, a triple axel. A jump that countless elite competitors struggle to land fresh in the opening minute, and here it arrives at the 3-minute 30 mark. He sets up the forward edge. The explosive speed of the program's opening is gone, replaced entirely by flawless technical instinct generating the necessary lift. He launches. 3.5 rotations. He lands it. It is not his most graceful touchdown. He wrestles for the edge. His free leg swinging with a touch of desperation to compensate, but he holds it. His hand never grazes the ice. He fights through the exit. The crowd rises. 15,000 people stand as one, applauding in unison with the final driving pulse of the music. Malinin launches into the closing spin combination, a sit spin with his thigh parallel to the ice, transitioning into a broken leg position before accelerating into a scratch spin of impossible velocity. He becomes a smear of blue and silver beneath the spotlights. The music surges toward its climax. He pulls his arms inward. The rotation accelerates to a dizzying, almost incomprehensible speed, and precisely as the final crashing chord rings out, he stops dead. Arms thrown wide, head thrown back, chest rising and falling in violent, ragged waves. For one suspended second, the entire stadium is absolutely silent. It is the silence of total, breathless awe. And then the dam breaks. The noise that follows is not merely a cheer. It is a physical entity. It rattles the television cameras. It vibrates the glass of the rink boards. It reverberates through the concrete bones of the building itself. Thousands of plush toys and bouquets of flowers cascade down from the upper decks, blanketing the white ice in a riotous, colorful mosaic. Malinin holds his final pose for a long, suspended moment. Then, at last, his arms descend, his head bows, and the stoic, iron-willed mask dissolves, and the 1-year-old human being underneath emerges. He bends forward, hands on his knees, gasping for air, his face flooded with profound, agonizing relief. He glides slowly toward center ice, navigating carefully through the cascade of thrown offerings, and bows deeply to all 4 sides of the arena before drifting toward the exit gate. Rafael Arutunan is waiting. The coach's characteristically stern expression has been broken by an unstoppable, ear-to-ear grin. He envelops his student in a crushing embrace. "You did it!" The microphones catch him saying, his voice cracking. "You actually did it." Malinin collapses onto the bench in the kiss and cry. He pulls his Team USA jacket around his shoulders. Sweat pours down his face, his hair plastered flat. Someone presses a towel and a bottle of water into his hands. He stares up at the enormous screen, chest still convulsing. Beside him, his parents Tatiana and Roman lean in close, gripping his shoulders. They understand the arithmetic. They understand what they just witnessed. But in figure skating, until the numbers materialize on screen, nothing is truly real. The weight is excruciating. The judges are scrutinizing every edge, every rotation, every microscopic nuance of the performance. The replay on the stadium monitor presents the quadruple axel in super slow motion, and even at a fraction of its actual velocity, the sheer violence and precision of those 4.5 revolutions is staggering beyond comprehension. The crowd erupts all over again simply watching the replay. The camera returns to Malinin in the kiss and cry. He is biting his lip. Yuma Kageyama's 306.57 hangs in the air like a verdict. Ladies and gentlemen, the scores, please. The announcer's voice silences the arena in an instant. On the giant screen, the numbers begin to populate. First, the technical elements score astronomical, a figure that belongs in a video game rather than a real-world competition. Then, the program components score the judges have unequivocally recognized his artistic transformation, the numbers representing the highest of his entire career. Finally, the total score illuminates in massive, bold text, 329.4. The arena erupts into absolute bedlam. It is a score that does not merely surpass Kageyama's total, it obliterates the known ceiling of the sport. It is monumental. It is staggering. Malinin buries his face in his hands, his shoulders trembling as the adrenaline suddenly surrenders to overwhelming, uncontainable emotion. His mother presses a kiss to his cheek. His coach pats his back. He is the 2026 world champion, and he has not simply claimed a gold medal. He has authored a defining chapter in the history of human athletic endeavor. To place this in its proper context, figure skating is a discipline defined by the strict boundaries of human anatomy and the unforgiving laws of physics. For decades, the progression of jump difficulty advanced in agonizingly slow increments. A triple was considered a marvel. A quadruple was once considered a myth. Ilia Malinin has seized those limitations, torn them apart, and rebuilt the sport in his own image. Yuma Kageyama delivered an absolute masterpiece tonight, claiming a richly deserved silver medal with his 306.57. Shun Sato's bronze medal performance of 288.54 will be long remembered as a triumph of raw, spectacular power. But what Ilia Malinin achieved tonight occupies an entirely different dimension. He scored 22 points above perfection. As he rises from the kiss and cry and moves down the tunnel toward the locker rooms, 15,000 voices continue to chant his name in unison. The gold medal ceremony awaits. The national anthem will play. The hardware will be draped around his neck. But the medal will only ever be the physical symbol of what truly transpired here tonight. The real victory is this. The young man once known exclusively as a jumper, the teenager who conquered the quadruple axel and dared to call himself a god, has finally, undeniably, completely become the undisputed king of the ice. He has answered every critic. He has driven the frontier of human potential further into uncharted territory. The ISU World Figure Skating Championships in Prague will be forever remembered as the night the quad god proved to the world that he is in every magnificent, irreplaceable dimension entirely, beautifully human, and absolutely untouchable. The sport of figure skating will never be the same again.